Breaking immigration news, ICE has arrested and detained a Palestinian activist with a green card from Columbia University. And the way that it happened has raised some serious legal questions. Mahmoud Khalil is a Palestinian activist and a graduate of Columbia University that helped lead the Solidarity encampment at the university last year. ICE agents confronted Mahmoud Khalil and his wife when they entered their apartment building on Saturday evening. They threatened to arrest his wife, who is a U.S. citizen and 8 months pregnant, if she did not go into their apartment. And according to Mr. Khalil's lawyer, they refused to tell her why her husband was being detained. Mr. Khalil was on the phone with his lawyer when this was all happening, and when she demanded to see the warrant for his arrest, the agents supposedly hung up on her. However, during that conversation, they also said that his student visa had been revoked by the State Department. And when it was clarified that he's actually a green card holder, they said that his green card had been revoked too. Now, as an immigration lawyer myself, I can tell you that is not how it works. ICE can't just take your green card on the spot. Only an immigration judge can take your green card away. And ICE cannot enter a private residence without a warrant. So assuming they entered the apartment in some way, there was definitely a lack of consent. And if they entered unlawfully, this could be a Fourth Amendment violation. But ICE doesn't need a warrant to detain someone in public spaces. And since Khalil was entering the building, they may argue that he wasn't actually in his private residence at the time. Still, ICE hanging up on his attorney when asking about the warrant, that itself raises major due process concerns. Now, going back to the revocation of his green card, there are two ways that a green card can be taken away. The first is rescission of lawful permanent residence. And this happens when the government claims that someone shouldn't have been given a green card to begin with. And it also only applies if a person has had their green card for less than 5 years. It does not happen instantly, and it does not happen on the word of an ICE officer on the street. And in this particular case, I'm not sure that rescission would be possible. And that's because if someone becomes removable from the United States after they get their green card, rescission does not apply. Instead, ICE would have to initiate removal proceedings in order to move forward with that person's removal from the U.S. Now, rescission could apply here if the government argued that he got his green card by fraud, but that's a high bar to prove, and at this point, there's been no evidence of that provided. The other way to lose your green card is by being placed in removal proceedings in front of an immigration judge, and this happens when the government tries to deport a green card holder. Now, again, only an immigration judge can order someone removed, which is why ICE cannot be the one to take someone's green card away. Even if ICE thinks that someone is deportable, they still have to go through the immigration court process. But when ICE agents told Khalil or his lawyer that his green card was revoked, they either didn't know the law or were just making things up. Now, this whole story to me is extremely shocking. It isn't just about one person. This is about political speech and whether the Trump administration is using immigration law to silence the voices of individuals who wish to speak on Palestinian rights. There's a major implication of First Amendment rights here because it seems to me that this arrest is a retaliation for Khalil's activism, and that is unconstitutional. And this arrest sets a dangerous precedent for how ICE can target people based on their speech. Khalil's lawyer is absolutely going to challenge his detention, but unfortunately he's going to have to do so in a time where the Trump administration is aggressively abusing immigration law in order to silence people. When asked about Mr. Khalil's arrest, the Department of Homeland Security spokesperson said that this was in response to President Trump's executive order in combating anti-Semitism, and that Mr. Khalil led activities aligned with Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. So if he were placed in removal proceedings, what would the charge of removability be? To deport a green card holder, ICE would have to prove that he or she is deportable under the Immigration and Nationality Act. The possible charges could be material support to a terrorist organization, where the government could claim that he supported Hamas, but where's the evidence? Public safety or national security concerns could be another charge, but again, this is a pretty vague claim and there's no evidence of any of that. And there could also be a fraud allegation where he could have misrepresented himself, but again, no evidence of that. Without any clear evidence, I'm not really sure how this case could stand in court, but ultimately this whole case is extremely troubling. It's something that we'll continue to follow, so follow us for more immigration news and information.